Well, it won't make any difference. It's just will show us getting set up and getting started, and it doesn't matter.
I'm removing the video to not, to make it easy, the communication.
Okay. The reason for tonight's call, as I said on the pages, we have a guest. As you can see, David Coeni, there he is, from THI Oregon.
Hi,
And
David.
Hi, guys.
Interesting.
Hi, David.
We had an interesting talk this weekend concerning a new member from Oregon that moved to California and joined. And David sent me a message, so we had a call, and I was very interested in listening to the things that his group is doing in Oregon. And I know that a lot of our members in the past have asked when we were going to start communicating with other state groups to see where how they've progressed. Let's say in the first 6 months, David and I both started at pretty much around the same time in last May. So again, had a very interesting conversation, and I kind of just went out on a limb and asked David if he would be interested in coming on and as a guest speaker and just telling us a little bit about how they're doing things up in Oregon. And hopefully we'll all be able to help each other out in the future. Being that we're a border state, we're connected with Oregon, and I don't even know if they have one in Washington, but it'd probably be good to start communicating with some of the other groups. So I was going to start by introducing Don, but he hasn't come on yet. So if I see David's ready, so
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, so I'm going to mute everyone so David can speak without any interruption. And then at some point, I'm sure we'll be able to take questions if David has time.
Absolutely. Hi, guys. My name is David Coeni. I'm one of the founding members of THI Oregon. I heard the call immediately the night I was listening to Thomas on, was it May 28th? And was very fortunate to have people, a couple people that heard the same call as me. For some odd reason, I seemed to take a lead role as things rolled out. But anyway, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Jim. Hello to you all. I hope you guys are all doing well. I know Thomas said there might be a few attacks here the next few days, and I've seen a few of them around me. Fortunately, I've been shielding and clearing myself continually to try to make sure that I'm not attacked. I will tell you I have been attacked on multiple levels since my involvement with THI Oregon, but it's been worth it. I think I've broken through a lot of the darkness, and I really am very aligned with myself and with what's going on. So basically, I'll give you guys a little bit of a description, and sure, I'll definitely be free to answer all your questions. So basically, our group right now, we have about, I'd say 15 active members. We get about 25 or 6 that are on our Facebook page. Those active members are actively participating. We had let's see, in December, or was it November, we had a what we call a Think Fest, where we got actually 12 of our members all together. We went to the Oregon coast, rented an Airbnb, and had just a spectacular connection. That really seemed to unify the group. And from there, we've had a lot of people really interconnect on multiple levels. So we feel as though we are doing well. We've actually had confirmation from Thomas Williams as to what we're doing. We seem to be on target. We've been very fortunate in that one of our founding members named Zenja is very connected to Thomas because he worked on the book project. If you guys recall, the book that was written for THI, Zenja wrote one of those chapters. So he's been sort of like connected with THI directly and a lot with Thomas. We seem to have gotten a lot of guidance from that connection with Zenja and Thomas, and it's been very beneficial to the group. So we've had a little bit of like insight and additional training above and beyond what we normally experience with all the calls and all of the other information that's coming out. My vision is to interconnect, as Jim was just saying, the three Western states in some form or fashion so that we can all share our knowledge and share our visions and unite in whatever way is feasible to all of us. My personal vision is one that as we all are up and running and we're sharing information and funding is happening, I really see really the state lines almost disappearing, I think. Sort of like Thomas described, we really need to unify. And so if we can unify our state groups, I believe that we can unify throughout the nation in a lot of senses. So I'm very interested in collaborating with California THI. I do have a good friend of mine, Don Permenter, who is a new member that Jim was just mentioning. Him and I are teaming up. We've actually already got a proposal written, and it's a little interesting because we're both in different states, but he may in fact either move here or whatever's required as we're directed by Thomas and Kim. But it's all really irrelevant. The key is we're uniting because of what we see as the need to combine our efforts and move forward with all of the different things that, all the different types of assistance that we need to provide to the people. So anyway, that's a lot of where I'm at right now. I've got a lot of stuff I can share with you. Fortunately, and Jim and I had a really great initial conversation, and we were able to really piece a lot of things together. And I think that, I'm an open book. I've really dedicated myself. This was my calling. I've been waiting over 50 years to find this reality. I've been seeking truth my whole life. And, I know that the vibration in my heart resonates truth. Everything I hear is truth. Now, I've been shaken to the core on a few things that Thomas has said. And, just like a lot of us, I think, depending on where you are, especially the religious reality. But it really doesn't matter because I've been able to accept it and move on and shift. But anyway, hey, I'll hand it back to you, Jim, and that's just a little introduction, and I'd be happy to answer questions or follow any of along the lines of anything we discussed previously on our call.
Yeah. Why don't we do this to start? First of all, David, Phyllis is our admin, Phyllis Martin, and Phyllis takes care of questions, and we're in the mode of raising our hands when we have a question. Just to start, and then if anyone does have a question, feel free to raise your hand, and Phyllis will bring you in. But I wrote down a few things from our conversation this weekend that I was hoping you'd mention as you did to me. And first of all, could you speak on what you believe is the overall purpose of our groups?
Yes. I've been on the phone most of the day with a lot of our members, and we were just talking about this. And this is one of the things that it's been very difficult, I'd say, in general, to assemble these groups because we've been getting guidance. We've been, Thomas has in a way stopped things that were in motion. He's taken us backwards. He's talked about other groups being shut down. I mean, there's been a lot of variables. And so, it's gotten a lot of people off track. And that's where we're at really right now, is we're trying to reel in all of our members and get them to understand our true purpose. It's very, very simple. We're here to assist in the distribution of funds for humanitarian purposes and for people who need support and aid. So the way that all, in my mind, has been laid out, we need to have some kind of a unified group that we can intake proposals and vote on them as a group in our respective states. And if we approve them, the state groups approve them, they go on to THI, to the main headquarter group. And if THI then approves them, then they go into the quantum system. Now, that sounds very simple, but the problem is we've only been given a basic description of how things will work. So we really don't know all the particulars, which makes it a little difficult for us to proceed on a lot of levels. And this has been part of our issue. You know, people get very excited and they start coming up with great ideas, but we still have a lot of missing pieces of the puzzle. And so we have to sort of stay in free flow. We have to stay flexible. We have to be open to the changes. And we're going to have to be open to whatever's provided for us in regard to funding. You know, we are supposed to be using technology that's 200 years more advanced than anything we've ever seen. So I do know a lot about technology. I study it. I study artificial intelligence, quantum computer systems. So I have a pretty good understanding of a lot of what those technologies can do. And in the current state, the quantum system is probably capable of so many things way above and beyond our understanding. But the theory is that once it's implemented, it'll probably be fairly easy to use. And I would say that because it's going to read our heart vibrations. It's going to know for ourselves and for the individuals seeking funding. It will, in essence, know their intention and their integrity. So knowing their intentions and their integrity, you know, and we have to sort of like try to grasp that. But that's what I do anticipate, is I anticipate a high level of technology coming in that will really assist us on a lot of levels. But one of the things that was brought up today, that is, Thomas did say, is that we're going to have to work with all of the systems that are currently existing. So, you know, because they have to be replaced and they're crumbling. So my vision is, as these things are going down, we're rising up. Thomas did say that as well, that it's like the cabal are falling off the mountaintop, you know, on an avalanche, and we're now professional climbers. We're climbing up to the mountaintop, and as they're basically passing us right now at a very high rate of speed, and we're being empowered. So basically, sorry for the long drawn out answer, but yeah, the real truth of the matter is, these groups are here to assemble basically people who are going to vote on these projects and follow whatever process is laid out by Kim and Thomas. And that is the primary purpose. And that has been my problem, is keeping people focused on the primary purpose when people have so many great ideas about helping humanity. And a lot of people hold these project ideas very dear to their heart, and they put them in the forefront of what's going on here. So I'm trying to like recollect our group and sort of get back to basics, because a lot of the time and effort has been spent on our project ideas and these offices that we're supposedly going to open. Now I will open up and tell you guys where we're at right now. Is we already have a proposal submitted to THI, and our THI California is asking for approximately $300,000. With that $300,000, it's sort of like a test. It's a test project, you would sort of call it. It's a foundation project. With that money, we plan to open 2 offices, one in Southern Oregon and one in Portland area. And within that money, we have enough money to set up the offices, telecom, cover some expenses, and we have salaries for 20 people is what we have right now. So the way it's supposed to work with our group, once that funding comes in, we will establish 2 offices. within the first 30 days. We're already out scouting properties, whatnot. We'll open those offices, and then after they're open, of course, we'll also set up the entities, establish bank accounts. We're very blessed that we have a person who's a back office person who can handle all of the paperwork, all of setting up the bank accounts, setting up the trusts or the nonprofits, and making sure we all get paid. So we have that in place, and within this 30 or so days, once we get these offices open, that's when we're going to be in the from day 30 to 60, we're going to be submitting either our individual proposals or additional proposals that we see being the most necessary to launch. And then that is when we're going to ask for, let's say, possibly, more money for THI Oregon, and we'll also probably have a lot of other projects intermingled within that. So that's sort of the way we're doing it. And I believe the way this all evolved was through a very lengthy process. We originally planned to try to ask for like 3.2 million. But through group discussions, we determined that we need to maybe be a little bit more reserved in our approach and have, let's say, this smaller amount of money to show that we can still maintain the group unity that we have, and that we can actually accomplish the basics, which is to get the offices in place and make sure everybody shows up and is ready to do what Kim and Thomas set out for us. So that's sort of, we came up with that on our own, but it also makes sense in how we try to stay focused on need, not greed. Because, when money starts flowing, the greed can pop up in people. So what we've sort of come to a conclusion of is, if we sort of drip the funds, people could be a little more responsible. We also have the ability to go back and view what they've done. So we are envisioning our funding out of our Oregon group as being dripped, or let's say working a lot like a construction loan. So for instance, if you're going to go out and build on a brand new piece of land, the bank may give you 20% to start, and then they're going to check and make sure as you build that you've done it right, and then they're going to give you the next set of dollars. That's a lot of the way we're envisioning this rollout of funds. We don't just want to go hand people vast, large sums of money, even though they may need them. We'd like to say, give them some money, see what they do with it, review it 60, 90 days later, or whatever it is, and then we'll have a better vision of what's happening. And then on top of that, we've got the quantum system that may end up doing all that for us. So, but we really see that as more of a delicate approach to funding that will hopefully not drive any of the greed, which we know will exist in some form as these monies are distributed. So anyway, I'm long and drawn out. Sorry, I like to talk, but I'm trying to give you the information that's flowing through me. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, David.
Thank you, David. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, you wanted to go ahead and have Estella?
Yeah, I have some other key points, but let's have Estella. She raised her hand. Let's have Estella.
Yeah, be sure and lower it when you're done. Thanks, Estella.
Hi, I have a question. So you said you create 2 offices with how many people?
Right now we have 5 in Portland, and we have 4 dedicated here in Southern Oregon. So right now we have 9 key people that are going to open the 2 offices. They're dedicated at some level. Now that's another issue, because what level of dedication are they at? Well, a lot of it's contingent on us getting this first set of funding, so that people can get a salary and can leave their current employ. So that's a lot of what we envision.
I understand. So in your budget, you said $300,000 per office or both offices?
Well, it's founding the offices, it's opening the offices and giving us enough money to operate the group and have additional funding should we need to use it for things that come up. So, that's the idea. And the thing is, it's really sort of like, we want to go and create a foundation and show Thomas and Kim we can do it, and that we did what we set out to do. Once we do that, that sort of is a point of proof. and we then continue on with larger sums, and we end up using that maybe as a little bit of a model for how we distribute.
So did you contemplate, I mean, you have an initial amount of money to start, but did you contemplate a way to create a cash flow with something?
Yes, that's a great question. Thanks for asking it. Yes, we are looking to open up small retail spaces within the offices. Our vision is when people come in, we want to give them something to interact with. I personally work with 5 separate product lines of naturopathic type of products that I've been using personally, they're very inexpensive, very effective, and the average people have no clue that they exist. One of them is structured water. Another one is a light bulb technology that creates super oxygen and also removes mold from the environment. I also have a lot of different vibrational products that assist with nullifying the high level of radiation and Wi-Fi type of energy. And we've got several more too. But we're looking at maybe having 3 to 5 basic little products in our office, and we figure, we really don't know how things are going to work. My intention is to have some money so that for people who really don't have any money and need the technology, need something like what we have, I should be able just to give it to them if that's what needs to happen. Or I can sell the products at cost if they have some money, or I can charge them retail if they, have those resources. So that's sort of the vision. That is right now the only real initial income generating reality. We have other projects in mind. After we open this initial office, we have a couple people who want to open up like a huge center, if you will, probably 20, 30, 50,000 square feet. And they want to have, healing centers there, educational centers, all different kinds of things. They want to have an Airbnb. So if the people come in and participate at that level and they can get funded, we'll have those type of income resources available in theory to continue to propel this reality, because we know Kim is going to give out all the money. That's her, that's really what she said, is that her job is to just basically empty the trust out and give everything back. Now, she said it may take up to 5 years to just prop up the current government in their current form. So it may be 5 years, there's still money available. I mean, again, this is what's sort of really hard to know unless you're able to ask the question directly. How long is funding going to be available? In theory, eventually it's not going to be available. So that's why I urge people in these groups to start thinking about how they want to structure their reality down the road. For me,
it was interesting. I cannot remember from who, but they said if the banks disappear, they're going to belong to the people. And at one point, we discussed here in our group the problem, for example, with the fire insurance or different structures that kind of slave us and manipulate us. And if we create systems that we are the ones, like a healthcare insurance, so that funds of the people are managed by the people, and we're able to, negotiate better services, that we have the power. I mean, basically we're creating a new system based, with a different core than instead of, that someone manipulating to, you are, a slave of them, instead of we are the one selecting and managing, so it's efficient, right? Our energy, life energy, and the fake money or whatever that we use to exchange our energy, right? So I think that's the main, I think the vision is to be able to empower people to create new ways that is serving others and at the same time bringing abundance and prosperity to everybody,
I agree, and many of our group members would say word for word what you said. So yes, I'm only one person, so I cover as many bases as I can. And it's sort of difficult because I really have to get down to brass tacks a lot of times, and I'm not able to reach out to those levels of like sustainability is I know it needs to be incorporated. I've done my best to try to incorporate it into the ideas of our group, but it like everything else, it needs more participation, I would say. And that's really been the issue we've had, is that everybody works jobs, they got kids, they got this, that, and the other, but we've been fortunate because we on average have had 10 to 12 people show up at our meetings every week. So we have a good amount of participation, I feel. The key is too that those 10 or 12 individuals, that we're all relatively aligned very well in our visions, our energy, and our connection. A lot of people interacting on multiple levels within the group. We seem to have sort of found what we would call our kindreds, people like us that have the same vision. Again, there's a lot of unanswered questions. And so, I mean, Estella, I love what you say. My vision is that, like the IRS is already starting to crumble. Well, if, we bring back the revenue, was it the tax and revenue service that existed prior to 1913? And I mean, there's taxes alone that's gonna affect people. When the people own the banks, well, if I know that I own part of a bank, I'm gonna vote to get rid of everybody's debt that's been enslaving everybody. So all of these things are possible, and I go big when I think about it, because this is a big deal. I mean, we've been under enslavement for thousands of years, and we literally are looking at the door of total freedom right this moment. So, there's a lot of change coming, and how it's all going to lay out. I think once all of us here in THI get more of a semblance of that, and an understanding and a little bit of more of an education, we're all going to fall right into the right, place that we need to be. And, for you, being talking about the sustainability and generating revenue, as opposed to just having a nonprofit that got funded by, in essence, a grant that you never have to pay back. This is a lot of what I discussed today with other members. And yeah, absolutely. I had a couple ladies that were on the phone earlier with me, and they are adamant about, trying to create sustainability. And I said, well, look, I can only do so much. Lead the way, take your message and share it with the group. So, I urge you to do the same. I'm sure you probably already have. And again, a lot of this stuff will be integrated in over time. I mean, I have a lot of project ideas, but I know I'm going to have a whole lot more. And that's really why I'm here. My background is finance. I was a stockbroker, a banker, saw the evil within the industry, and exited about 15 years ago. Decided to just get away from the money game, and have been living a very mellow life down by the river here in Oregon. Whereas I used to be a city guy riding around and wheeling and dealing all over the town. I've totally shifted and changed who I am. And it's been for a good reason, because the solutions are here. This is the solution. And it's not only that it's the solution, it's already in play. It's already, like, we've won. It's ready to roll out. I mean, sure, there's things that need to be pushed out of the way, but I really believe, based on all of the very interesting movements within THI, Thomas was on our call for 3 hours 10 days ago on the prior Monday. It was the most amazing thing. He just dropped in on the call, just like we're on right now. And he sat in and he coached us and he answered all our questions, and it was really amazing. But I got a lot out of that as to where we are, and my perception on the way Thomas is talking. He's so lit up inside. He's so happy because he knows where we are. He knows we're here. We're ready. We've waited this long, and he knows it, and he's talking about it. One of the reasons he's changing one of the reasons I think that he's changing his weekly Spreaker calls, and now tomorrow he's doing the rerun. is because Kim is asking him to step up at higher levels because of where we are. It sounds an awful lot to me. I mean, I'm speculating, but I'll tell you, sounds a lot like to me that they're either already funding or they're going to be funding very soon. I just don't know if it's going to be in the United States. That's what I surmise based on all the information that I've accumulated in the last couple of weeks. Everyone is moving and they're ready to go. They're like at the starting line with their shoes on, ready to run the race. They're all trained and ready to go, but they've got to give up a lot of the commitments in a sense. So when I see people like Thomas giving up his commitments, I also see a couple other people giving up their commitments and rearranging their time schedules. That's being directed, and it's being directed in my perception because of where we are. We're ready to launch, and so there we go. Don't want to take up your whole call. Sorry.
That's okay. That's fine, David. Bill, I see you've got your hand raised.
Hi, and welcome to our group. Thank you for chiming in. We all, I'm sure, really appreciate it. It's funny you bring up the office thing. Another approach you might, what my idea was originally, instead of just getting an office where you're renting from somebody and then renting out the space inside there to project people and then having to come up with the money. If you could get like a small strip mall, buy a strip mall and have a big anchor in there, like, you know, it could be a hotel, motel, a gas station, an anchor that's paying you rent, and maybe a couple other anchors that are paying you rent. Then you can own the property, and like Alan says, rewire it with all the new stuff, because a landlord won't let you do that. Some might, but in general they won't. And then you have income, and with that income you can pay all your expenses, and then you can keep the rest of it in your own little trust. So if somebody comes in and goes, hey, I've got an idea to do this, I'm from Oregon, then you can fund out of your bank account their little project in your center. So it's just, it's a lot of money to come up with. I don't know if they're going to go for that. Maybe that's something down the road, but that's what I was thinking. The more we can keep this out of the clown's hands and into our own hands is better for everybody. And the only thing you're going to have to pay for if you do buy the center are the property taxes, which hopefully go away fairly quickly, and maintenance. And then you can pay your maintenance crew there. You can have your own maintenance crew. You can set up the shopping center however you want it. You can pay them a wage instead of just, minimum wage. You can, maybe even throw them in some profit sharing from whatever else is going on at the center. Because my big thing's always been profit sharing. Like I want to do a farm, or we want to do farms, but if these farms end up making money, that money would obviously go into the trust and to pay the employees. So that's kind of all I got. But
that's great, Bill. Hey, Bill, nice to meet you. I follow you on Facebook. I think you're my friend. Thank you. It's real nice to meet you. I really enjoy all your posts, by the way. You're very tuned in, very similar to myself. And thank you for what you just said. So I will counter you with what we've got. Our key project for the state is an eco-village. We have 280 acres currently picked out that a relative of one of our members is willing to sell to us for roughly $1 million. It's only about 10 minutes off of I-5, so it's a pretty good location. Beautiful property out by the Rogue River. So the eco-village, if I can just describe the structure, it's going to be pretty big, but the way it's going to sustain itself is with hemp and garden, and probably we're going to do different things like, essential oil kind of, herbs and things like that. The vision is like basically for us to build a village that will have an education center, a healing center, a food, a place to prepare food and gardens, school for the children, basically like a meeting facility, a factory. And that's really what we're looking at. We want to really the problem is here in Southern Oregon, there's hemp everywhere. I mean, they grew thousands of acres of hemp just in my locale here. The problem is that these people that grew it, they thought that they would be able to sell it. But a lot of them actually ended up just tilling their soil with it because they didn't have an end user. And so we know, I personally have been involved in the cannabis business. I've been involved in hemp, a lot of different types of products. I know hemp very well. I have a lot of people around me that know how to grow it, know how to dry it, know how to process it. So we in theory can grow millions of dollars worth of hemp every year on this property. But instead of just selling it, because it is hard to find end users, is we're going to build a factory, and we're going to start making basics, paper plates, paper towels, toilet paper, cell phone covers, whatever we can make out of hemp or hemp composites. We want to start making hempcrete bricks. We want to use the hempcrete bricks to build hempcrete homes on the property. We actually are looking at buying 3D printer where we can mix the hemp and the concrete, and with this huge boom pump 3D printer, you can print a house like 2 of them a day out of hempcrete. So the idea is that it's not just sustainable, it's going to create income, jobs, place to live, health, education. That's a lot of what we're envisioning. And once that's up and running, we want to take that, we're going to share that all over the world. That's basically where we're at. Bill, I really like your idea about the strip mall. That's an excellent idea, especially for Cali, where you got 1 million strip malls.
And David, actually with that concept of, I study architecture and sustainability. Mm-hmm. With that, I'm familiar with what you're saying, but the interesting thing of our West location is we can really integrate the different ideas and suddenly initiate the exchange between the regions to create abundance within the groups.
Absolutely.
And then one is learning from the other one, because you start with the 3D printing and the hemp construction, and suddenly we can learn and then be a satellite of your production, but construction in southern area. So it's a good way to be more efficient with the funds and how we initiate the learning experience, because everything is a process, right?
You're speaking my language. You're speaking my language, Estella. That is exactly my vision. We will produce so much hemp that we can transport a lot of it to California and to Washington.
And also you have food there because it's a good protein. Medicine, there is a lot. It's almost like the moringa tree, the hemp.
Right.
And also moringa could be another way also to implement, because it has a protein and amino acids and everything that the human body needs. I think it's a great what you guys doing, and we can use the same concept to kind of co-create, bring in other elements into the plate and work as a team, with similar initiatives, being kind of efficient, go step by step without going overboard,
Well, it's a blueprint too. We can just take pick it up, pick the map up and drop it wherever. I love his idea. I'm just totally blown away right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I love it. I mean, my heart is just like, Estella, you're speaking my language. these are all the visions that I personally have, the reason I'm here. It's the reason that, it's like I've been wanting to reach out, but, first things first, I've had to try to collectively,
Well,
put this group together, mostly by myself. So
I want to add
now
this.
I'm really ready to expand.
I learn architecture as like being a doctor, but being a doctor of the environment, because people need to live happy in the house. The home is like the body, and it's crucial for the joy of a family to have a place, that protects and also it's a healthy environment. And I think we are all in the same boat. So.
Absolutely. Anyone else out there? Questions? Anything? However you want to lead, Jim.
Yeah, if no one else has their hand raised, the next thing I had on the list that we spoke about, David, was at the end of 2019, we seem to have come to a log jam on the setting up of some type of a business entity, and there were many suggestions put out. Mainly, should we use a 501c3? Some were all for it, and others were not too sure about it, and we're putting a lot of pro and cons out there. And that's kind of the way we ended 2019. Yeah. Could you just give us your opinion on? You had the same experience, I believe.
Yeah, fortunately, with my experience, I have a lot of trust experience, so I'm very well versed, I would say, compared to most. 501c3, I would never do unless I was told to by Kim and Thomas. That's my personal opinion. It's not the right entity. It will work short term, and when they roll out, it might be the way that they direct us. For me, I am very well versed in what the elite do in regard to taxes. I've studied this for years because I used to work in an environment where I knew people that were trading hundreds of millions of dollars in stocks and bonds who weren't paying any tax. So I knew they had a system that exists that would allow them to do that. And I assumed it was legal. And after 20 years of seeking, I found that answer. And I have a woman who can set up what is known as a 508c1a. Now, the main thing about a 508c1a is that it is what's known as a religious trust, if you will, but that's really irrelevant. It really is. It's just a title. You don't have to be a minister or anything else. You just need to establish the tax code. So with that, the main thing that happens is the 501c3 requires not just tax reporting, but very high-level scrutiny of tax reporting. They make you jump through 10,000 hoops. I know this because I've worked with a lot of people with these entities. That is not what I want to enter into. I am moving away from the IRS. My personal opinion is IRS isn't going to be here. So honestly, I really don't want to even deal with any of their stuff. But again, Kim and Thomas are going to tell us upon rollout of the funds what we do. And so we will follow that. But for me personally, I have my own project. And as soon as I'm funded for my own personal project, it's going into a 508c1a. The 508c1a will allow me to not do any tax reporting at all. I don't even need to file, okay? That's what that entity does. It's a series of 5 trusts. It's not exactly simple, but it's worth the effort and energy when you're talking about the things we're talking about. It basically within these trusts, that you can operate completely tax-free. You could pay anybody tax-free by simply giving them a title within the trust. It sounds too good to be true, but there were only 300 attorneys that were trained on this tax code back in the 1960s, and one of those attorneys who left his practice trained a very good friend of mine in this tax code, and she is what I consider to be one of the foremost experts. She actually personally knows all of the individuals who established these trusts in the state of New Mexico. So anyway, a little out there, but that's where I stand with it. And I want to let people know the elite have had an edge upon us. And if I have if I got to remain in the same type of tax system, I'm not going to play by their rules. I'm going to play by the elite's rules because I can do it legally. That's really where I'm at with it. So,
Yeah,
I mean, yes.
Yeah, this is, if I just say, Kenny, I can't put my hand up. I'm not on the computer when it's my turn. Please give me a buzz.
Go right ahead, Kenny.
I'm in total agreement with starting out small, with the 300,000 and a small, get an office going. Your great idea. My biggest worry is we've got great ideas for the future, but to start out small because of the intention of the people using the money. We have a lot of people here. We talked about this a week or two ago, but in our group in California that were just hanging around waiting for a 501c3 to come around, and they complained because we didn't do it quick enough, and then they kind of bailed. Like last week, we only had 7 on our call. So I'm all for starting out small, with this small amount, 300,000, whatever, what you guys are doing. That'll filter out the bad intentions, and show who's really in the game and who isn't, who's honest and who isn't. And that's plenty of money to get things started. And I'm also with not joining the system in any way as far as being controlled. I was unaware of this. Sounds like the constitutional soul thing that we were talking about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Corporation soul, Ken.
Corporation soul. Thank you. But yeah, I just wanted to say starting out smaller with a smaller amount of money is going to filter out and point out who's honest and who isn't. And it's plenty of money to get things started, I think. I got a place already here I'm looking at here, too. 2 places, office space and a section of land. Okay, thank you.
Great, Kenny. Thank you very much. I appreciate your input. What I would say is this. Now, look, I came from California. I was born in San Francisco. I escaped and came to Oregon because I was almost dead from all the chaos. But I do know Cali well, very, very well. And so when I look at what your group is looking at, one of the things that comes to mind is you guys are all spread out. Now, we're spread out, but we only have 300 miles from top to bottom in our state. Therefore, if we put one north and one south, we're pretty well positioned. You guys, on the other hand, it's tougher. And I really believe I can assist on some level. And Jim, I'm happy to do that. But my vision for you guys, if I were in your shoes, is I've got to try to have something going when funding happens. Now, in assessing all of the particulars, I believe that you guys that are here and or other core members can make some kind of commitment that you're going to be a THI Foundation member who's going to take responsibility for voting on the projects as they come in. So when you assemble that team at that level of commitment, which I've already done, I've got 9 people in place, 4 in Southern Oregon, 5 in Portland. So those people are committed at that level. So we have 9 people at least that are going to be available to vote on the projects as they come in. We are taking things a little more, with our group. I have to assess, everyone's got to have their input. And the brick and mortar reality for both Southern Oregon and Portland seems to make the most sense for us. However, me personally, I'm not the guy to sit in the office. I'm Joe International. I travel everywhere. I go to every little corner of the earth looking for the people I can help. So my plan, and as soon as we roll this out, is to submit my own proposal and open what's known as the THI Ambassador Program. And Don Permetter, who lives in California, is not on right now. Him and I are planning to go out, and we want funding for an RV, a recreational vehicle that we can bring our wares with, and we can go out and share information about THI. We can educate. We can share our product lines. And that's really what we see ourselves. And for me, I don't see any borders in that. I mean, we're going to be in California a portion of the time. We're going to be in Oregon. We're going to be in Washington. Wherever we're needed to assist THI is where we see ourselves. Now, when I take that model and I apply it to THI California, it seems to be almost one of the best models I could think of because you guys are all spread out. Now, if you guys all of a sudden you get a regional, you get a group of 5 in LA or in somewhere in SoCal, and you get, a group of 5 in San Francisco area or whatever, and you guys want to establish, let's say, a foundation office or something there, that makes sense. But from what I understand, you guys aren't there yet. So my perception would be, let's gear up and get you guys ready to vote and to know who's going to be in those positions. Now, for us, we have determined that we need to have councils. And Jim, I'll be happy to share this list with you. But we have councils for 12 or 13 different fields, from education to law to business, all different kind of healthcare, all that. So people who have their individual skill sets and knowledge of those things will be on these different committees and will be voting on the projects as they come in. So for me, I'm more of a banking specialist. Anything that comes through on that level of finance, I'll be reviewing. I also, I'm a healer. So anything that comes in health-wise, I will be involved in. So I see, if you guys can assemble that, I think you guys will really be in the right spot. Because if funding comes next week and you at least have that ready to go, well, how are you guys going to vote on it? Right here on Zoom if you have to, right? And this is what I was talking to Jim. Jim threw out the idea of a virtual office reality. That's really what I'm looking to create for myself. But for California, that seems to be, for the right people, maybe the right reality. Now, I have a lot of women up here who are healers, and they all want RVs so they can go take what they do out to the people. And we're out where everything's spread out in Oregon. And a lot of times you need to bring with you your whole office, your whole, healing setup. So that's something that I really am thinking now real deep on is and I was talking to Jim a little bit about it in a text, maybe we need to go out and buy, 5, 10, 20 RVs and put the people in them. So we literally, instead of having brick and mortar offices, we have roaming offices for the people who are fully committed. Now, Jim told me he's like myself. He's fully committed. So that may not be all of you, but there's going to be people that are or that reach that point. And so for me, that seems to make the most sense. It also saves the most money. Everyone operates virtually until a time where you have the ability to open an office, for instance. So what you could do is you could, put out a proposal that gives everybody a salary and buys whatever, a couple RVs, and allows for some money for creating events where, THI is going to pay for it. Renting an Airbnb or whatever, that's what I do. I'm renting an Airbnb in about 6 weeks. And, I'd love if we had the money, THI would pay for that so we can all meet together. So that's the kind of thing I could see maybe happening with California as you guys, more come together more in some way. But, it's a big state. You guys are spread all out. So, I'm just speculating here, so please correct me, but I'm going off a lot of what Jim and I discussed.
Sean, did you want to ask a question?
Let's see.
I've been feeling well.
Okay, thanks. I was going to say, if not, yeah. Please.
I'm still under the weather quite a bit. I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks. Listen to the recording tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, get better.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be just listening tonight, and I'm liking it. So, okay. Thanks.
Now that we're now that we're kind of at a little bit of a break, there's someone on the call I don't recognize. Penny.
She's on mute. Oh, there she is.
Here I am. Jim, it's Pamela Libanati.
Oh, hi, Pamela. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. I hope everyone is well tonight.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. I changed my name to Penny because on one of the meetings a few weeks back, there were two Pamelas, and it was creating a little bit of confusion for Phyllis who to call on and which Pamela she was talking to. So I wrote in the chat that I would use my nickname.
Okay,
So,
well, we don't allow any fake names, so we're going to have to get back to you on that one. I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. No, it is my real nickname. It's on my birth certificate. And I just wanted to thank David so much for coming and joining us. And your input is incredible, David. Your ideas are incredible. I love them. I'm like Bill. It's just overwhelming in a great way. And thank you so much for all your input and sharing.
And like you, David, with the woman you said in your group that kind of has runs your back office, and we too have someone, Pamela's daughter Miriam, who has done the same thing, set up for us, so we can keep our projects listed, and also she does notes on our calls so that people can refer to if they need. Anyone else have a question?
I do.
Go right ahead.
I'm just wondering, when you had Thomas on your call, David, did he mention anything about any ways? I mean, I know that Kim has a ton of little tricks on how to track money. Is there any way they mentioned that if let's just say you get your 300 million or 300,000, sorry, and you want to distribute it, but there's somebody who's represented themselves as you can trust, but they're not, and all of a sudden they're embezzling some of that money and putting it in their own personal account stuff. So I'm wondering if there's a way in the system to track that kind of crap and stop it, nip it in the bud, or even figure out that the energy isn't right for that money, and so there's a way to track it and stop it before it even gets out of the gate. I mean, I don't know. Am I being naive here?
Well, not necessarily. It's just hard sometimes to put all the pieces together. I'm fortunate in the fact that I have a puzzle brain and I'm always good at piecing puzzles together. Sort of like Thomas says, we connect the dots. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Here's my perception, and based on listening to Thomas and Kim. Understand that Kim has the global mapping system. It's quantum technology that barely anybody can grasp at this point, unless you really know what that type of technology. I know something about it and I can perceive it. With a quantum mapping system, she has the ability to track anything. Like she says she has every single asset is documented and accounting for on the planet. Okay, so if she can do that with every asset, I'm pretty sure she can do it with every dollar or whatever currency it is. Now, again, the old system is sort of collapsing and it's all based on debt. What I want to bring to everybody's attention is that right now, Kim's system is operating, and we are now on an asset-based currency system. Whether people believe it or not, whether you guys believe it or not, that's just the reality. Kim has already switched us to an asset-based currency because nobody can create the paper like they did before. They can't create monopoly money out of thin air. As far as the accountability of individuals, it's just like Kim has been able to give the Rothschilds and the Department of Defense $300 or whatever, $500 million and park it in Citibank. And then as soon as they took it and scanned it, she slurped it back up. So if she can do that, the quantum system in theory can do that too. So, but my perception is that this quantum system is going to sniff out the intent of the individual prior to funding it. Should the individual falter after funding, it's my belief that the quantum system will pick up that vibration and will take necessary action. Again, we're dealing with AI. operating at a very high level of, artificial intelligence, which, from what I understand, can do 1,000 times better than the most intelligent genius on the planet. So they can constantly go in and modify, correct, redirect, pull back, restrict, make flow, whatever it is. That's the way these systems sort of operate. So I really believe that's not going to be a whole lot of. I don't really think it's going to be that much responsibility for us individually. I really believe most of it's going to be automated. That's my personal insight, but it's based on a lot of real truths that have been continually, stated by Thomas and Kim. It all lines up. What I just said all lines up with all the many different things they've said. This system, Kim controls it, and it is integral. It does read integrity. And but again, Kim is going to hand us a set of something, and there's going to be responsibility involved. How much responsibility? I don't quite know. Thomas is saying, well, we need to develop these things ourselves. Thomas and Kim can't babysit every little thing we do. So it's sort of, we got it. There's a lot of decisions we'll make, and I'm sure there'll be some restrictions that we are under, or some rules that we're under, or some perceptions. Having worked with many, many different financial systems in my lifetime, I'm waiting for it. I just am so excited about it, because I really believe that it is, because it runs off of quantum energy. That's another thing. It's not like the cabal can take a missile and go blow up Kim's server and blow up the electric power grid right next to the system. It's running on quantum energy. It's running on Tesla quantum type of energy. I see it as what's known as the fifth element. So in that, it's encoded with pure natural law. It's encoded with pure natural sustainability for all humans, plants, and animals. That's what it's encoded with. So that AI is going to make every little decision, in my perception, for the benefit of humanity, whereas all the cabal did the opposite. Let's make it as dark and devious, as deadly as we can. Let's poison as many people as we can. Let's genocide, vax, smart meter, chemtrail, all of that, and that's all going to be gone because the system won't support it. And as we already know, all of these alien groups they've already been, like, the 39 races underneath us. They've all been freed. They were our slave masters. They've been freed. They're not slave driving us anymore. They're not using a lot of the negative technology that they had that was controlling us. Then you've got things like the Destroyer being taken off the planet, the Nemesis entity taken off the planet, the 700 and some odd thousand hybrid Order of the Black Sun taken off the planet. All of these current alignments, like the other day, the 12th is the center of the figure 8. We had the black sun removed. We had the black hole removed that was over the sun. And now all this beautiful light energy is coming in. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a very sensitive man. I can feel all of it. So I know it's happening, and I'm very, 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 very happy. I've never really had this much joy in a very long time. I've been restricted by the system, played by their rules, been brought up in an Illuminati type of family. I'm Swiss, and we're bankers. So we're always trying to get an edge up on everybody and enslave them. So, I had to do a lot of ancestral work to clear all that and to, really grasp what my duty is. And that is to reverse what a lot of the people in my family have done and the levels that they've done. The other side of my family, by the way, is royalty, if you want to know that. My mother was born in Denmark, and she's related to the Danish queen. So that's where I come from. I come from royalty, and I come from banking. So I'm like the Illuminati guy that they didn't quite let into the Illuminati. And so if that gives you the concept of who I am and why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, is because I've seen all the horror that's been created by these systems, these people. But we also have to remember that every single one of us was lied to by Marduk. So when I look at Pelosi, and I'm pissed off. I don't know if it's a clone or what it is, whatever. But let's say it's a real Pelosi, and I'm pissed off. I got to remember, she was sucked into that system. She had to play by their rules. She was threatened by Marduk to be killed. She was a mobster. She had to be, as bad and evil and dark as she is, she was lied to. Now, this is a thing I think that a lot of us need to conceptualize, is the fact that we can't be hating on everybody. Now, what the governments and the courts and everybody decides to do with all these people that have done horrific things is really not up to us. We all want to see justice. But how is justice going to occur? Are they going to go and, take everybody out and hang them? Or are they just going to throw all the pedos on Pedo Island? I hope they do that, the latter. That's what Tank and Dan are talking about. Go get Pedo Island and just throw all the pedophiles on the island. And then they can live whatever the way they want. Anyway, enough of me.
That's okay. Thank you. That makes me feel better. I have been concerned about trying to work within a system that's so corrupt and so broken. I just couldn't figure out, how in the world are we going to have one dime that we could spend from the funds without worrying about what are they going to do to control us, or what are they going to do to steal it, or, those kinds of things. So naturally, that makes sense. I see Estella has her hand up.
Yeah,
Estella?
I want to talk about this subject because for me, this is my core subject. And when you talk about quantum system, I do understand we are part of a quantum system which is natural. And that's how the quantum system is able to read us and understand us, because it's being created, someone created, understanding how creation creates, life in the whole sense. And the soul, which is being trapped by this system and this reality, we are the forerunners, bringing the soul at the free mode, where we, as collaborative, co-creative team, we're going to learn how to, elevate our soul and vibrations through our integrity of actions. And that's like a principle. I mean, when you said about this entity 508C1A, and you say, well, it's a religious, and I say bingo. Because the core of our participation is actually our soul, which is infinite and abundance in creation. As a creators, we bring in our desire of change for a new system. And I think by being the team that we really have to learn to co-create and respect each other and understand the responsibility, accountability of our actions. We don't need a leader. We are all leaders, and understanding with that responsibility, integrity comes because you are honored to do this as a free soul, to be able to serve others, and not serve the self, which is the disease or distortion of the whole system. And for me, it's very clear that, and I just want to make a remark, because we have to understand that we have the power with that integrity, because once you have integrity, the flow of energy comes like an ocean river, and things happen. And I just want to put in clear that's what really brings to the success of the collaboration. So, anyway, that was
beautiful, Stella. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, yes. Many of the words you spoke resonate 100% with me. My partner, she speaks just like you. I'm very blessed to have a woman who can speak to me in the same way, who has that beautiful understanding, because my patriarchal upbringing doesn't quite let me link that automatically. I need a woman to tell me, apparently. So anyway, I love what you just said. And as far as the religious entity goes, look, I personally don't want to participate in the system at all. And I mean, I even have visions of the fact that Kim could actually open her own bank, and it could be an international bank. I mean, if you look at like Kim has her own like QSIP numbers. What if she were to give THI, each state group, their own QSIP, and we were able to open our own banks? If we were able to open our own banks, maybe Kim could give us some kind of sovereign reality over it. We wouldn't even have to establish entities. We could just call it whatever we want.
That's why
that's an example.
That's the most important, is like the possibilities is unlimited. But what
Right.
is crucial is what I was saying, is understanding that the behavior and the attitude coming from the soul is like you are transparent. Integrity and honesty is what driven, this force.
Yeah.
So, and trust. We need to trust each other and be transparent and make a very, it's like you're making pizza with the dough. You move it and you talk about it, and it's like, because we have to release the whole system and the fears and the, even the temptations.
Yeah, it starts with us. You're right. And that's just like, I think what you were saying, Phyllis, is that, how is this all going to play out? I think a lot of it is we need to start planting the seeds of the way we would like it to be, even if it seems completely implausible. I mean, I want to paint a picture in my head that says Kim is going to hand me the quantum system. I'm going to download an app on my phone, and I'm going to be able to distribute funds off of it, or I'm going to be able to submit proposals off of it. It's going to be that easy. Sure, I got to vote on it with my other members, but I envision that, and I envision things being easy. I envision not having to open an at all. I envision on having maybe our own bank, so I don't have to deal with the bank teller at Citibank. Those are the kinds of seeds I want to plant in everyone, and I think that this is these kind of creative ideas is what a lot of our group has shared, and it's made this real beautiful bubble of creativity within our group, and it's creating an energy, like you say, around it that's tapping into our soul and creating these possibilities. Because again, we're looking at going into a paradigm that we've never lived in and that we can barely imagine, because we've all been restricted and we've all been enslaved. And as all of these enslavement, the little bonds and chains are being broken off with every breath we take. Sometimes we just can't see it. And that's like what I was getting at, Phyllis. What I picked up in one of the things you were saying is I have a couple of members that seem to speak the same way as you. How do you conceptualize this? And it's different because, we're all in different spaces. We all have different experiences. But I think a lot of us who've really tried to live by the book and be the upstanding citizens, we put ourselves in a box. And even though we see the light outside the box right now, we have to really get out of it. We have to start imagining not having to pay taxes and not having to pay $45 overdraft fees at the bank and the cops pulling us over for no reason and all that. That's what I think we really need to start envisioning, because that's the kind of freedoms that we're going to start to see. And the sooner we see it, the sooner we be it, the sooner we carry it, the more that energy is going to go out. People are going to see it. And I know one thing. I do a lot of work with people in recovery. I help people get off of alcohol and drugs. And the thing is about me is people want what I got. I used to be a hardcore alcoholic. I've been clean for 10 years. But I meet these guys brand new and they're trying to stop drinking. They look at me and they go, you got a lot of what I want. What is it that you're doing? I take that same concept with THI and I say, look, when we're out there and we're doing these great things that we're doing right now, people are going to notice and pay attention, and they're going to follow, and they're going to connect, at least the ones that need to connect with us. Will we pick up a lot of like shady people that come and knock on our door and go, oh, I want all this money? Well, it might happen. But I would like to believe that no, our vibration, our resonance is so high that those dark individuals won't even walk in our door. That's my personal view into what we're looking at.
I like the sound of that. That would make me feel a lot better. Say, Kenny, I think you're trying to ask a question.
Yeah, well, I have an opinion. Initially, a start. A start, in my opinion, would be to have Kim set up something like a green dot thing where we have our own codes for access, allocation, maybe a card, and keep it small amongst us now that have good intentions instead of having our own banks initially with set amount of money in them, because that intention, that's important and initially, from the start. My opinion is to have this quantum system that Kim sets up that can be accessed by these core members that vote and come up with it and have their own numbers, and you allocate and you a little bit at a time and get started, and get things rolling. There's people amongst us that I call torpedoes in the waters. I mentioned the other day on THI California. They're still out there, and a lot of them are narcissists, are only worried about themselves, but they won't be able to access this stuff, as Stella's pointing out, So initially that may be a way to go, just to start off, with that, something like, I'm just using it as an example, as a green dot with cards and access codes and allocations. We allocate money to this if it's approved by the group, and there's all good intention there, then the funds are available, and we start from the beginning. We do our thing and get our offices. And as far as California, the broad range, I saw the little map you drew together there, and tell us about the zones in California being so large of a state and having zones that you could service. I think we could broaden that area. It looked like there was a lot of people in Northern California, if I remember right. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that's the largest part of the state is up north. Yes.
Yeah. And the people in the cities where they're crammed in and they're jammed up. Instead of sending them money for food or something, and sending them aquaponic systems. And let's not forget about the water. I can work with that, and I'll do my best with that. That's one of my, of course, you all know that, one of my things. And IT and security and stuff like that. So, anywho, that's just an opinion to throw out there.
That's great. Thanks, Ken.
Can I say something quick?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead, Estelle.
I like the idea of creating the team that is going to be a solid team. And I'm a kind of person, I'm all-inclusive, but the quantum system is going to tell us, and we're going to get better at this and now in the green light for the projects, but we're probably going to identify people that they're not going to qualify, but this is like a school of the soul that people need to, heal in order to function doing the right thing and, with integrity. So we have to contemplate that maybe there is a second team of people. It could be, I like the idea of the mobile team that create meetings or educate and plant the seed to a new way of doing things, because we know everybody is for the opportunity to deceive, because that's the way how people survive right now. And I just want to make that input in terms of contemplate the solid opportunities and the ones that are not so solid, but they need our support to transform and transmute that, lack of light to bring it into the light. So give the opportunity to be part of the change,
Okay.
That's good. Hey, can I just say something? I just wanted to respond a little bit to Kenny because I had a little bit of insight. Yeah, thank you, Kenny, for your input. I also work with water, by the way. I'm very well educated in water. I work with a lot of structure water and different types of devices. It's actually one of the products that we're planning to bring into the offices, into our retail space. So I'd love to talk to you sometime, Kenny. I don't know if you're on Facebook, but maybe I can connect with you. As far as one of the things I heard that I thought would be interesting for you guys to hear was, I was in some deep conversations with my main member, Zenja, who talks to Thomas almost daily, okay? And he was saying when we were laying out possibilities along the banking lines, he seemed to say that Thomas was heading toward the direction of credit unions. So we have to remember that, Kim has been funding this country and all the banks and the whole financial system for over 2 years. So it's my perception that, credit unions operate at a little different level than banks, and they tend to make things easier from my experience. So, it may be a credit union. And that's sort of what was laid out when I tried to get down to brass tacks with it, is that we would maybe, we would use a local credit union to establish our bank accounts, because that's basically it. I mean, once we know we're getting funded, we've got to have the entity in place. We have to have the tax ID number issued once the entity is established, and then we need to take that with the money and establish the bank account. And then from there, you got your people in the back office ready to distribute funds on whatever's been decided by the group or whatever's laid out in the project fund, the original funding, the initial funding. So I don't know if that helps, but that is something I heard. I also wanted to say that as far as Northern California goes, there's a team that's crossed over the border from Mount Shasta, California. I've met with a couple of them here in Oregon already. One of the ladies, Komani, just joined the group. But I will tell you, Jim, Komani is working with a project called LEAP, which is sort of very interesting, sort of a sustainable reality. I'm sorry, I haven't really dug too deep into it, but it encompasses education and housing and employment, and it's a pretty big project. But she's dedicated herself to that, and at this point, based on what I know, she's really involved in THI so that she can get funding for that project. However, she knows a lot of people, and she's bringing people in and introducing them to THI who are showing a lot of interest, and I've spoken to a couple of them. So just to let you know, you might have some new members here coming in soon. One of the things that just popped into my head while we've all been talking is, I don't know if you guys would be down for this, but I would love to have you guys all on with our members. I think, if we could do an Oregon, California call, a special call, and sort of introduce everybody, and you can see the rock stars like you guys that exist in Oregon, it will blow your mind. Because we've really, obviously all of you guys are awesome, and I really appreciate you guys. But I tell you, we've got a great team too, and I think that if you're open to it, think about it, Jim. But I bet you, everyone in my group is excited about me being here tonight, and they're all about collaborating on some level. So, the more we join in our energy, I think the more wonderful creativity that we could create. It's an energy field. Quantum reality. So it's an idea.
Yeah, call it the left coast.
Yeah, the West Coast is the best coast.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, by the way, my water stuff, just to let you know, is in the area of dowsing, redirecting, and establishing springs where they're needed by remote.
Excellent.
So
Great.
That's one of my things you can put on your thing. And communication-wise, how we can get a hold of each other through the administrators.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got email and phone number information.
Yeah, all in
Okay.
all it would take, David, is for you to send the link to your call that you would like us to come on, and either myself or Phyllis will get it out to everyone by way of the page.
Okay, cool.
It's that simple, and I, for one, would definitely like to do that. We might even want to consider doing it bi-yearly or monthly, bi-yearly,
Quarterly, monthly, whatever
quarterly.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a fine idea.
Great idea.
Yeah.
And Estella, I wanted to. Oh, sorry, Phyllis.
No,
Just
go
real
ahead.
quick,
I'm sorry.
Estella.
Yes.
I wanted to speak to your education. You said that your specialty that you're looking to be within is education. Is that right? Did I hear that right?
Well, I have a degree in architecture from Argentina, 6-year program, and then I completed master in architecture in UCLA. And I've been working in the last 25 years in architecture. I'm a lighting specialist. And so I kind of grew with the development of the constructions, tendencies with heat and all that, and California Title 24 and all that. So I'm a 3D lighting designer. Right now I'm employed as a application engineer would be the title.
Okay. Great. I guess I was just sort of leading into the fact that we have a lot of the women in our group are showing a lot of interest in the education sector. So I didn't know if that was something you were looking at. I do have a gentleman who has not exactly architecture background, but he's a designer. He designs different types of CAD design and equipment and things like that. But yeah, we have a lot of people. I think there's a lot of commonality is what we'll find. But I would just say, Jim, maybe if you could, or if anyone would want to chime in, maybe you post on your site. We're looking at having a joint call with Oregon. What would be a good day or time, or just give me one, and then I'll plug everybody in on this side, because I want to basically accommodate you guys so we can make sure people show.
We'll work out the details. I see Penny has had her hand raised. Penny?
Hi there. I just wanted to go back for a moment and discuss the growing of hemp. In our discussions, in our meetings, in our farms, in our gardens, we talked a lot about growing vegetables and maybe fruits in that. I don't recall us discussing growing hemp. I missed a few meetings, and I was just wondering if we did discuss it at a point that would be included.
Yes, we did talk about at one point. We haven't talked about it a lot, but we did mention it in one of our sessions.
So we could maybe coordinate with the Oregon group in distributing it and using it and manufacturing it and so forth and so on. And I wanted to say I would enjoy the joint phone call with Oregon very much.
Can I add to what you said? I understand urban planning and economics and, the impact of local economics and the whole process, from the farming to the, like you're saying, industry or manufacturing, which if we think in these lines and the whole enchilada, we can completely modify the way how California and Oregon, produce, and you actually starting to create a more integral or more complete, human groups and natural resources and the treatment of the environment, to support the land and the integrity of Mother Nature, because we have to contemplate also this. The earth is being abused, and we're going to come in complete co-creation with the land and the water and the animals. So I just want to bring this because for me it's important. We are all one in that sense. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, the one thing I would say about hemp, if y'all, if you know, I'll just say this. First of all, it's what I found out is that it's the closest DNA to humans. It's one of the most natural substances on the planet, which is why the cabal kept it away from us. So in studying hemp, it removed glyphosate, a lot of different toxins in the soil. It will actually absorb a lot of the metallics from chemtrails. There's just an incredible benefit. It has an extremely high vibration. You know, I've been walking through these huge warehouses with hemp, and it's like you walk in there and you feel like you're in a, I don't know, an energy field of, I don't know, it's just really incredible, the vibration that hemp itself in a large quantity makes. I could certainly see with the property we have and the ability we're going to have to produce mass quantities of hemp is probably being able to supply hemp, at least for the time being, to both states, to, I mean, Oregon, California, and maybe even Washington. So how you're going to use that hemp, it all depends. But as far as growing it is definitely advisable. With all of the damage that's been done to everything in California, hemp could probably restore it much quicker than almost anything else. So it's definitely important that we start spreading the word about hemp. And I'm already feeling the vibrational shift here. What happened is the region I'm in is known to be the Emerald Triangle. All of the people who wanted to get involved in cannabis production and go make money moved here. And this has been going on for decades. And we had a boom in the last 7-8 years where a lot of people came from out of state to grow cannabis and try to make money. Well, the governments came in and the state now is heavily taxing it and controlling and regulating. And all these people who thought they'd come in and make a lot of money, well, they can't make the money anymore because it costs them more money to do business than to sell their products. So, well, not all of them, but like 50+%. So these people that got pushed out of the cannabis market ended up going and growing hemp. And it's just insane. They shifted. I mean, it's just unbelievable. There's just hemp everywhere you go. I live 7 miles from town, and it's solid hemp for 7 miles down my road. But the vibration that hemp has created is like phenomenal. It's shifted and changed the vibration of the valley. You know, I'm very sensitive to energy, and I can feel it. So, you know, we've got a lot of great things that we can collaborate on. I guess I would say for your group, I think it's important that you guys try to collectively get as many members as you can together and vote on who is committed to be part of the project review and approval or unapproval process. And if you can assemble enough people, you'll have a core team like we do. We got 9, but it's enough to get the job done. Once you have that in place, then, and you got your project proposal. Let's say you guys go for $500,000. I don't know. You're Cali. You should probably go for $1 million, in my opinion, because you guys need it, and figure it out. You guys got a big state. There's always money to be spent, but try to figure out what you're going to do to found yourself. I mean, this has been my vision from the day one, is that we're a foundation state. Oregon's a foundation state. We have a lot of things here that don't exist in the rest of the United States. And we're blessed to take that, replicate it, and when I moved to Oregon, like 15 years ago, they said, it's slow in Oregon. It's not like, San Francisco. Well, I'm like, how slow is it? Well, it's like 1981. I mean, we're like 20 years behind. And that's a good thing, because a lot of the old ways have been maintained. The people still know how to grow food. We got farms, and we got all kinds. People are growing like you can't believe now. There's this huge rush. People are creating their own food products and selling them at markets, never like before. They're creating all kinds of products out of the natural woods and different things that are here in Oregon. This is what we need to see happen in California. You got all this fertile land, but first you got to clean the land up. Well, that could be done with hemp. And then, that everything just starts shifting from that point forward in my perception. The cabal, what really went down with California, and if you guys know, my perception is that, it's all started with Agenda 2020, Agenda 2030. The two key states that are controlling that whole forward movement were California and New York. And so they put in more gas, more money, more everything into propelling those two states to lead the rest of the country into, ruin, if you will. So that's really the problem with California, is that they put so much negative into it. But I want you guys to really, have a lot of faith, the fact that we have new technology. Kim has she has controls and owns all of the patents. Now we're talking over 5,000 patents that the Department of Defense has hidden from us, that we need to understand. Kim has those. According to information I have, there's approximately 300 of those patents that have already been released by Kim to the inner THI team, and she's got a team of scientists and people in tech that are already starting to use this technology and gear up for production. And we're talking about things like free energy. We're talking about healing devices. We're talking about all kinds of different things that we'll be seeing. So that's, really what's going on. They're moving forward a lot quicker than most of us can see, especially if you ever tune into the news or the media, because it's just so crumbling now, and the vibration is so low, it's just sucking people in. So, I used to watch a lot of it just to sift through it. I just can't do it anymore. It just lowers my vibration too much. So, they're crumbling, and we know it. And all of these battles, these huge battles, the top, 60% of the power structure, most of it's been completely decimated. And that's what people aren't seeing. So the only thing that's being reported in the news is from Trump down, and there's an umbrella over that information. And that's how they kept everyone in control, because the umbrella, which tops out at the presidential level, everyone thinks that's the top chain of command, when in fact 2/3 of the power exists above Trump. Just like Kim said, Trump is only global security level 26. Kim is global security level 64. The difference is about 60%. And that's what we're dealing with. But Kim has the ball. And so when you understand what she wields, the power that she wields, it's almost unfathomable that a human actually has that much power. But you got to realize Marduk was the king of kings. Kim now is Kim Possible, the queen of queens. She's naming the financial system after herself. I love it. She says she's being a little bit of a dictator. I love it. She's got to get the damn job done. She's going up against the most ruthless people that have ever existed on this planet. So she's got to gun up a little bit. And I'm really amazed at how well and balanced that Kim and Thomas and the team is able to accomplish all these things without striking out. Kim has very high level technology. She can go wipe out a whole country if she wants to. But it's my perception that that's not allowed by the UPU, the Universal Protection Unit. Therefore, she has to play by a lot of rules that we're not privy to. So, sorry, I think a lot, as you can tell, and I try to share what I see, because all the puzzle pieces connect for me.
That's okay, David. This is great. This is great to be sharing this information. Angela, I see you're on the call. Angela, do I remember this correctly, that you have an interest in healing too?
I do. I've done like a little bit of study in energy healing. I'm really interested in education, and I don't know, David, if you were talking about education, whether that had to do with educating children, or what education that you guys were talking about. I'm really interested in like shifting our education system a lot. I have a little bit of background in education. My main background is in fashion design, so I'm really kind of interested in microfiber is, I think, the #1 pollutant on the planet. The clothes that we wear. I think I read an article some time ago that Americans, because we've only Americans have been tested, we have 0.28 grams of plastic in us. And I think that's due to the microfiber that's like, it's in everything. It's in our water. It's in our food now. And the most waste that gets created is through the garment industry. So hemp would be like re-educating people on that, where, and like learning to wear natural garments again, made from natural fiber. That would be amazing. So that's been a thought in the back of my head. But healing also, yes.
I was going to say, when we build our eco village, you come into our factory and design a clothing line.
I would love that.
And the other thing is, we really need a nice, like a really cool logo design, some kind of stylized, like a little bit more advanced clothing for THI, or what would end up going to be the People's Hub.
All right.
So please,
let's
think about that, because I know we can use it.
Okay.
And everyone would love to see your work on our bodies, especially if it's microfiber and we're using like bamboo or hemp, for sure.
I would be honored. That would be cool. Let's talk about that.
Or Faraday cage.
Say that
Faraday
again.
cage, yeah.
Excuse me, interrupt. Faraday cage clothing. Some of that's out there too.
Yes.
That's different.
That's awesome. Hey, real quick, Angela, I wanted to say we got a lot of women that are really into the teaching and the education here. It's a huge fight that's here in Oregon. A good one. Zenja, my main partner here, who you'll see on this call when we do it, his wife runs a forest school right now. And are you familiar with forest schools at all?
Forest schools, yes. I've done so much research on education system, and I did myself Waldorf teacher training program here in LA. My kids started when they went to school in a Waldorf system, and I know that Thomas is a little sometimes criticizes Steiner, but from my research, whatever was available out here, his was the lesser of all the evils. And that's right. What I studied. But forest schools, yeah, I did. I've studied that, and just being outside and that's amazing, where kids get to be out in nature every single day and walk through, nature and learn from nature. There's also a school out in Kazakhstan by a guy named Shatinin, and that is an amazing school system as well, where kids actually basically they're not divided by age, and they basically facilitate their own education. The adults are just there to hold space for them. They basically architect the buildings that they study in. They sew the clothes that they wear. They are out in nature every day. They dunk their whole body in a river, out, every morning, especially putting the head in the cold water. They're able to download what, are 12 years of education in 2 years time.
Right.
And they learn
that's the water.
Probably. I don't know what it is, but it's also a boarding school, the kids, because initially he found out that the energy would drop too much when the kids went home. The vibration of the school is so high, that you can feel it. And so it was too hard for the kids to go back home after school because the level of the energy would drop. So he made it into a boarding school. And that's been fascinating for me. Unfortunately, my kids are now, I have three myself, and they're in the public school system. I die a little bit every day when I drop them off at school. So it would be nice to, recreate our education system.
Yeah, reach out to me if you get a chance. I've got some products that for your kids, pretty inexpensive, that will really help them hold their own vibration in their PSI field. This product that I wear is called Vibes Up. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. I know the woman who invented it and patented it, and it's just amazing. This bracelet's like $10, but it's got vibrational. This strip right here is crushed gemstones and essential oils, and she makes a lot of different types for different things. Like there's one for flu, for people who get sick often. Like me, I have a compromised liver. I wear one for my liver. It helps. This product pulses EZO energy, which is like millions of little pulses of energy every 1/1000th of a second, and it's been proven, and they're very inexpensive. But you put these on your kids, and they're like, it's just amazing. I have one on my cell phone. I keep them under my computer. It's a great product. But just a little ideas to try to keep the kids' PSI field up when they're going to those whatever education centers, whatever.
Yeah,
I hear you.
yeah.
I know it killed me to put both my kids through public school, but they got through it okay. And so, let's see. College wasn't so great though. You know, these kids going to college is bad. You know.
Say that again. The end. The last part.
The kids, my kids. Well, you know, they both went. Well, my son went to California State University, Cal Maritime in Vallejo. And my daughter just graduated from University of Oregon, and all of the things they had to go through was like torture. They would tell them one thing, they would stop them dead in their tracks, tell them they had to go back, kick them out of classes for no reason. You know, they delayed them, they charged them money. They try to skew them. They just try to like throw them all over the room and confuse. And I mean, it's sad. I was like, really? To the point where I got a psych degree. She doesn't even want to, you know, they want her to go get an MBA. She doesn't want to have anything to do with it, you know? So it's, I tell you, the colleges are just as bad, and that's really the problem. I mean, I don't know, at least in the United States, especially here on the West Coast, it's all about money. And they don't teach kids how to make money.
It's designed to break down the soul and disempower.
Yeah,
Right.
It makes us like into like cogs, really. You know, it takes away your autonomy, it takes away your creativity, it takes away your independent thinking, so that you can fit into a cog machine, so that you can just kind of, I don't know, be a good candidate for siphoning off your energy. How could I get in touch with you, David? What's the best way?
Well, you can see my name if you want to just write my name down and look me up on Facebook.
Okay.
Hit me up if you're on Facebook. That's the easiest.
Yes.
That way I keep everybody. I've been pretty good with Facebook, being able to keep it up and repel all attacks. I'm very good at security, I guess I would say, when it comes to Facebook. Although we've been attacked. When I first started THI, they took down my 12-year-old Facebook account. I had over 3,000 people on it from all over the world. And it hurt. It hurt a little bit. And I was like, well, I guess this is my new beginning, you know? So I was smart too. I had a second account linked to the THI, or I would have lost control of it. Because I didn't have any other administrators at that time. But, these things happen. My friend Zenja, he was brought up in the SSP, Secret Space Program. We've got a lot of ex-Illuminati members in our group, people that literally saw the horrors, lived them, and have wanted to correct this for a long time. So we have some very dedicated individuals who have a lot of knowledge. You know, it's like it's sometimes maybe hard for people to conceptualize a lot of what Thomas is speaking of when it comes to these levels of power. But when you meet somebody who's literally lived it, like one of our members who's been tortured underneath the Vatican and sex trade underneath the Vatican, you realize it's real. You really do. You realize that, these horrors do happen. It's not just some story, and you realize that people are here, like all of us, to make things better. Leave this good for our, leave this planet in a better place than when we came in, for our children and grandchildren and future generations. But I mean, we're talking about in 10 years. I think all of us is definitely going to be alive in 10 years. We're going to get to see it. Isn't that exciting?
That would be exciting. I want to break in there real quick and say, I got more than 3 sources that say the universities are owned by the Catholic Church, and number 2, that the Faraday cages clothing is proven to this wireless technology. The clothing, the bathrobes and the shirts and the hoodies will stop all that crap when people are unaware of the 5G, that don't know how to set up their own shields. That may be one of the things we want to consider to carry in our stores, as Faraday cage clothing, excuse me, and a knowledge center about smart meters and smartphones and smart this and smart that. And yeah, I've got a background in military intelligence, on an offshoot of Free Will Positive, dealing with off-world whites and others, and so I'm there with you. And I'm not worried about to say that now. I used to have to hide. I don't do that anymore. Okay, I'm listening again.
Right on, Ken. Thanks, man.
Okay.
Anyway, hey, I'm sorry for hogging your call. I'm from Cali. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a social guy. I love talking. But I wanted to share with you guys what's going on. It's a very exciting time in our existence. And we're the ones who heard the message. We're few, but we can do a lot. So I don't know. We've gone almost 2 hours. I don't want to, take up any more of your time, you guys. I'm really excited about connecting a call with Oregon and California. And I'm thinking maybe we try to do that in, in the next, week or two, more like 2 weeks. And that way it gives everybody to assemble, and we'll hopefully find a good time that it works for everybody. But I'm really excited for you to meet our members, because they're just, they're righteous people, just like all you guys.
That would be great, David. Can one more person get a question in? It looks like Penny has her hand raised.
Absolutely. Anybody who wants a question, I'll stay on as long. I just wanted to let you know. I know I'm looking at 2 hours. So
I just wanted to add a comment to Kenny's statement he just made about the universities. In the past few shows, maybe a month ago, Thomas did mention that a lot of the universities here in America and globally are ran by Langley, which is the CIA, which has the 3 different departments. So,
and I think he said something about the military, was what I recall.
Well,
it was connected into the military.
Yeah, it's also Langley's part of the church too. I mean, that's all connected. If you look at the wording of uni, the ver, and city, the what I call ratlum, but the military thing was I worked with an offshoot with a group called Hester for many years as tracking and locating. We were like a no such agency, and there's a lot of good people out there. They're not all bad, and they're still there, and they're on the phone right now. So, but security-wise, I'm there for everybody still. I'm really sensitive to, and I pick all that stuff up. And, well, I don't know if anybody felt last night. There's some really good, positive waves going around last night. Anybody feel that stuff?
Absolutely.
I felt a lot of energy, yes.
David,
I was.
Go ahead, Ken.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I felt revitalized. A lot of being here in Mendocino County and all those other issues that go with that. There's just staying full triple shields up and staying at that high frequency sometimes is a rough thing, but I'm able to do it. Luckily, the free will positive side is really important. And hey, I think it's great we get together like you know, the three states here, the left coast, west coast, whatever you want to call it, man. I think this is great. I want to thank you for coming on and filling this in. Really, my heartfelt thanks go out. Love. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, David. And just one last comment. And we do normally shut down after 2 hours, so we're real close. I just wanted to ask you, and it's something we discussed on our call, our telephone call. I believe, am I correct in understanding that each of your core members have an individual project that they are working on or have submitted by way of proposals? Am I correct in understanding that?
Basically, at this point, we've got the main proposal is already with THI, which is the $300,000 for the group. There's 2 or 3 other people
Your
that
group
have submitted
proposal.
some proposals. Yeah, and there's a few that have either submitted or drafting or near completion or ready to submit when funding comes. All of those exist within our group. But you know, that's been the thing. It's like I say, first things first. You know, Thomas and Kim asked us to create this so that we can distribute the funds. So, you know, who's in on that? You know, I had a woman that came in early who was gung-ho. She was coming into calls for the first 2 months, and then, you know, she wanted to do this project and like wanted money for her daughter's softball game. And it was like, okay. And, you know, we wouldn't give her what, you know, we're like, we don't have funds. Secondary, can you see like where that falls compared to homelessness and starvation and education? I mean, it's sort of like it's at the bottom of the list. Well, you know, she didn't like that, so she failed. And, you know, so that's the whole thing. It's like, you know, we got to have our priorities straight. And that's why I really wanted to say that. And it seems like you guys do. But, you know, people really need to step up to the level of the commitment. But what's our primary purpose? Distribute funds. I'm going to be in the driver's seat when that happens. Who else is with me? We get that together. You guys got your proposal together. What I would like to do too, Jim, when we have this call, Zenja will definitely be a huge assistance. His mother we call her Mama Z, and Mama Z is our back office. Now, what we can do is we can get you in contact with Mama Z, and she can share all the stuff that she's got going on and tell you how our proposal's structured. And in reality, if you want to submit the same proposal, but maybe for double or triple the money, which is what I suggest, do the same thing. And then if I can get Washington to do the same thing, in theory, we're all operating in a tandem or in a trifecta, whatever you want to call it. That to me is a vision that I could see of total cooperation amongst 3 states. It's overwhelming in its idea stage. I really believe it would be funded instantly. And so I think that's really what it is. If we can get some money, we can and set the foundation and start doing what we're supposed to do when the money drops, then, you know, we're first in line, in essence, for our own projects. And how's everything going to get laid out? Like I said, there's a lot of answered questions. That's why we got to pay attention now. So it's like, you know, the people that are dropping, I've had this issue with my group. People will jump in, they'll listen, you know, they'll show up, then they won't show up for 2 weeks, they show up in a week. I ask them, hey, have you been listening to Thomas? Oh, I haven't had time. You know, but they want to be part of and they want to insert themselves in this reality. And the thing is, everything's changing rapidly. So it's very important that people are paying attention to what's going on right now. You miss a big piece of the puzzle and you're not with us. You have this sort of, you know, the energy in the group doesn't seem to track right. And so, whereas if people are a little bit more committed and they're doing the basics, just listen to Thomas's call once a week and show up for the Zoom call, even if you can only be on it for 10 minutes.
That's simple.
You know, that's all you need to do. And this is where I'm at, because I've got a lot of my members that they want to be leaders. They got these great ideas, but they aren't even showing up. So
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
think that they're going to be in that role? I don't. I
No,
know.
we had the same thing in here at California. We had a bunch of, like I said, waiting for that 501c3. They're just looking for money. You got the part of the core group here at a whole state, like 7 or 8 of us, last week, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but boy, yeah, it feels real good. This whole West Coast tie-in. I have a feeling, a strong impulse to say that we ought to connect more often, like on a daily thing. As we're getting closer and closer here, things are getting tighter and tighter, that I'm available to do so because, I'm on disability, electrocuted years ago, and I'm a disability, but that's not the issue anyway. The issue is that I'm available at any time of the day. A lot of people aren't because they're struggling. And maybe that's part of the issue. But if we can talk about, before we get off here, 2 things. Can we meet more often in a website or a forum that isn't there anymore? Facebook is not good for me. I don't do Facebook. I know what's on that darn thing. I don't go there. But MeWe is fine. I get good vibes off of that. And the other question is do we have any hams? How many hams do we have here, ham radio operators?
I wish I did.
0.
I would suggest we start looking into emergency communications. I know Thomas says we have something that can replace the internet if it goes down. He said that a few months ago. But, California is trying to go after the ham, seeing they're not needed anymore, and I can see the reason behind that because they don't want us to communicate. So I do have a ham background, although I don't have a call sign anymore. But I suggest we start looking into that and learning Morse code. We got to be ready for, got to be planned. We have to be, in my opinion, the way things, we don't, I see far enough ahead, okay, but I don't, things happen that I'm not supposed to know yet, and there's possibly going to be a time that we're going to need to communicate via C-band and Morse code. So that's just an idea I'm going to throw out there.
I'll see what I can do, Kenny.
Landlines help at all?
Well, landline, I got a 2-line landline, or 2-wire, I'm fine, but I don't know if people are on cable or whatever that might go down for just a couple of weeks, but, Morse code on battery and a little solar system on C-band, you can reach around the world.
Thank you for that, Kenny. I agree with you, but I will tell you my personal feeling on that. I really believe that with the quantum system, Kim has full control of almost anything electronic on this planet.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Should 5G roll out, it's overcome already. It's already been described, multiple calls of Thomas, multiple conversations. There's a quantum communication system that's ready to roll out. Just like there's a second part of the Kim system that a lot of people don't know about, key integrated military system. That's already up and running. So look, I'm Mr. Prepared, and I love what you're saying, and I agree. We should always have a backup, but I really am hoping that I'm right and that this thing's already a done deal. Whatever the cabal tries at this point, yeah, we might be down for a day or two, but stuff's going to come back up. But this goes back to we got to get away from Facebook and all these other cabal systems. We need somebody to step up, some badass from Cali probably who's in Silicon Valley, to step up and create some code and create our own network, our social network or whatever it is. Now, thank you, Kenny, because you just gave me an incredible idea. So here's what I'm going to do. As soon as I get off this call, I'm going to set up a Facebook page. Now, I know you don't use Facebook, but I'm going to do it because I think most people here do. And it's going to be the Left Coast PC, Left Coast People's Club. And that's going to be designed for all 3 states to communicate. I have a few members like yourself, Kenny, that are very adamant about not using Facebook. Like yourself, I have a lot of background in security. One of my specialties is Facebook. I've been able to manipulate it to a level that most people would never give the dedication and time to. I consider myself an expert in countermeasures for anything and every attack that they've placed on me. I've thwarted. Now, that's quite an accomplishment, considering the level of attacks that have occurred just on THI Oregon and, of course, all the other sites. But I know how good I'm doing because when I talk to the other administrators in other states, they're just getting attacked at a higher level. I'm basically rolling out things like teaching our individual members how to remove the spies that are on your Facebook account. And there's a way to do that most people are not aware of. So like that's something I can share with you guys that can give you a higher level of security on Facebook. We are also, the problem is the reason we're not on MeWe is, believe it or not, the cabal took our MeWe down. We have absolutely no control over it. The page is there. They've taken away all of our administrative capabilities on MeWe, and we can't even basically post on it. So that's how the cabal has gotten at us. Thomas has been on my tail because, oh, why isn't your MeWe working? Well, we've tried everything. And so we're dead in the water on MeWe, and I've been directed into Facebook, and it works because it's the size of the platform. I don't know. It's just working for us. And whether that'll continue, I don't know. But I really believe it will, because with the thousands of attacks that I've thwarted and I'm still not down, and where we're at, we've already won everything. I really believe we've already won that war, personally.
I'm going to jump in here and just say goodnight. I'm going to get going. So thank you again, David.
Thank you, Phyllis.
See you again soon.
Okay, bye, Phyllis.
Good night, Phyllis.
Good night, Phil.
David.
Good night,
David.
Phyllis.
Bye,
Yes.
Phyllis. Love you. Before you go, David, are you using your highest form of security source?
I'm sorry, am I using my eyes?
No, your highest form of security for me. My highest form of security is Source. It's clear, shields up, and firewall, protecting all my electronic devices. Yeah, good for you, because that's the highest form.
yeah.
I'm, in my opinion. So, I have certain ways I'm not going to discuss on the phone where I do the same thing you're doing. I just have I'm going to admit it, this is the truth. I have a button on Facebook in the past where I got hacked and they sent out all kinds of load of crap, but that was years ago. So I'll give it another go. What was the name of the group you're going to create again?
I think we're going to use your idea, Left Coast PC for People's Club.
Left Coast
PC. And
Great.
we're going to try and keep a lot of THI info off of there. This is basic. I'm going to try to be on the down low with this page, okay? Because they're heavily attacking anything with THI on it. And that's why I want to use something that's a little more less descriptive. And
So
I think
when
it'll be a really good way.
So when you set that up, all we have to do is go to the search bar in Facebook and put that in, and it'll bring us up to that particular page?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Correct.
I'll open the page and then I'll send you a link. I'll message you a link and then you can just go in and join.
Perfect.
At present, I'll just let anybody join because the only people that are going to know about it is us, the current members of THI. They're going to be invited, and then I can always lock it down later or whatever. But we'll make it an open source share space, and that'll be quick and easy.
Cool.
Thank you.
Hey, David,
Yo.
can you write this down? You got a pencil?
Yeah, I've got my pen in front of me. Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you might have my number there on Zoom, 707-882-1966. Okay. My email address. Now, my email is tight, clean and tight, and I got double whammy firewalls all over the place. My email is Kilo Bravo Mary, or KBM,
Right.
at mcn.org. That's Mendocino County Network.org.
Cool. And for anybody who wants to get a hold of me directly, I can give you my, you can always message me. You see my name up here. You can always become my friend or whatever. written down all your names and whatnot, the best of my ability. So you can get a hold of me, Messenger, but we also have a website, which is Theo, Thio, T7777 at Gmail. And by the way, T7777 is Kim's code in the quantum system, just to let you know. So we're mirroring her.
Okay, I'm in my car. I don't have anything. I'm outside somewhere else. So if you want to shoot me an email with that, I appreciate it.
Don't worry about it, Kenny. I'll get you, man. I'll send you an email. And again, I'm sorry for going over. We're at 2 hours and 15 minutes, but
no
like
problem.
I said, I'll be available as much. Whoever needs anything answered, I'm here.
Jim, can you send it to Jim, and then we can receive it from him?
Yes. Anything that comes to me, I'll put it on the page.
Yeah,
I'll open up that page, and I'll get a hold of you, Kenny. Definitely, we need to probably talk too. So I'll get a hold of you.
Yeah, try and keep THI out of it as much as we can. Yeah, because if we're both IT, we can team together.
Right.
And
so
security.
People's Club, it stands for politically correct.
I'll see you guys.
Take care, Pamela. Good to meet you.
Been a wonderful call. See y'all later. Love ya.
All right, you guys.
Thanks, everyone. David, thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
We'll be in contact.
Guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate
you so much.
Thanks, Estella, Pamela, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Night
you.
all.
Good night.
Night all.